At the beginning of the movie, we see a girl named Zoe. She was on her way to meet her fiancé. Before leaving, her mother gave her a car so she could drive there. Her mom reminded her to be careful and then said goodbye. Zoe told her, "Don't worry about me, I'll get there safely." Zoe was happy and very excited to finally meet her fiancé. She also enjoyed taking selfies, so after a while she snapped a picture of herself and sent it to him to show where she was. During her journey, Zoe came across an old man who was selling handmade items by the roadside. After looking at the things he was selling, she continued on her journey. While driving, Zoe was using her mobile phone, which made her lose focus on the road. Suddenly, an injured man appeared in front of her car. Zoe immediately hit the brakes, and because of that, the man survived. When Zoe looked outside, she saw the man collapse on the road. Then she noticed that a gang was violently chasing another man. The gang members ran their car over him and killed him brutally. After that, they started moving toward Zoe. Zoe wanted to help the injured man lying on the road, so she quickly got out of her car and put him inside. She was about to drive away when the gang arrived. They grabbed Zoe and began mocking her. Then, right in front of her eyes, they brutally killed the injured man. The gang kept taunting Zoe mercilessly. Because of this, she ran away from there. But then, the leader of the gang, Trey, pointed a gun at her. The bullet hit Zoe's leg, and she immediately fell to the ground. After that, they grabbed her, took her with them, and tied her to a bed. They tortured her brutally, and Zoe was in terrible pain. Meanwhile, Zoe's fiancé, Dane, was getting worried. It was already late, and she still hadn't returned home. So, he looked at the last picture Zoe had sent him. In that picture, a signboard was visible, and from that board, he figured out her last location. He immediately called the police and asked them to search for Zoe. Back at the gang's hideout, Trey was still torturing Zoe. He told her, "I am the grandson of the man who wiped out a tribe in America." He even showed her the cut-off heads of that tribe's members, which had now turned into skulls. He said those were the heads of the people his grandfather had killed. Trey then picked up one skull and told Zoe, "This is the skull of the leader of that tribe, their commander." Hearing this and seeing all those skulls, Zoe was terrified. Trey was actually telling the truth about his ancestors. Then, the gang started drinking and enjoying themselves. Meanwhile, one of the members, West, said they should kill Zoe now. But West was actually Trey's friend. Trey told him, "I want to torture Zoe more. That's why you won't kill her yet." To settle the matter, they decided to bet on it with a card game. West won the bet, so he went to kill Zoe with a knife. Meanwhile, after enduring a lot of pain, Zoe barely managed to free herself. She tried to run, but West saw her. He grabbed Zoe and stabbed her several times with the knife, killing her on the spot. Later, the old man who used to sell things on the roadside was out walking with his dog. He came across Zoe lying lifeless and carried her back to his place. There, he made some medicine by mixing herbs and gently applied it to her wounds. Here, we learn that the old man belonged to the same tribe that Trey's grandfather had wiped out. The old man then performed a ritual with magic spells to bring Zoe's soul back into her body. During the ritual, her body rose into the air. But instead of Zoe's own spirit, another soul entered her. Zoe's face twisted into something horrific, and her eyes turned completely black. She attacked the old man, but he quickly knocked her unconscious. Dane arrives there too and checks into a hotel. Then we see Zoe, who, after coming to her senses, walks into the city. She spots a public telephone and calls Dane from it. She tells him, "I'm alive, and I'm safe and sound." Dane feels relieved when he hears her voice. He also traces the location of that public phone and quickly heads there. Meanwhile, Zoe notices a police officer and approaches him to ask for help. But then she realizes the officer is actually a member of the gang. Seeing him, Zoe becomes aggressive, and while following him, she ends up at a club. The gang member is shocked to see Zoe, and suddenly, her eyes turn black again. It seems that the same soul has possessed her once more. At that moment, Trey's friend attacks Zoe. But before he can harm her, she tears his stomach wide open, spilling out his intestines and killing him instantly. Then another gang member tries to shoot Zoe with a gun, but she knocks him out by hitting him with a chair. When Dane reaches the public telephone location, he sees the police there. He asks them about Zoe, but the officer tells him that a man was murdered at this spot, and the person he's looking for isn't here. Dane insists, explaining that his fiancée called him from this place an hour ago. The officer replies, "All right, I'll handle your case later." Just then, Trey arrives with his gang. When Trey sees his friend's dead body, he becomes furious. He can't figure out who killed his friend. Dane walks up to them, shows them a picture of Zoe, and asks if they've seen her. As soon as they see Zoe's picture, they tell him to leave immediately. But when Dane explains that she called him from this spot just an hour earlier, they're shocked. They start moving toward Dane to kill him, but the police officer steps in and orders them to back off. Meanwhile, Zoe regains consciousness and finds herself in a shed. Suddenly, a door inside the room opens on its own. Inside, she sees all kinds of tools. Zoe picks up a bow and an arrow, and then she leaves the place. Then, Trey's gang returns to the place where they buried Zoe. But when they get there, they see that Zoe's dead body is missing. They start wondering where the body body has gone and how it could just disappear. West, the one who killed Zoe, says maybe some wild animal dragged her body away, because he's sure it's impossible for anyone he killed to survive. But Trey doesn't believe that. Out of fear of the police, they decide to move far away from their homes, worried they might get arrested. So they head back to their houses to pack their things. But when one of Trey's friends steps outside, he notices that someone has shot arrows into his car. Seeing this, he gets scared and quickly leaves a voice note for Trey, saying, "I feel like that girl is around me." Meanwhile, Zoe suddenly shows up and starts attacking him with arrows. She keeps firing again and again until he finally dies. Later, when Trey listens to his friend's message, he rushes over. When he arrives, he sees that someone has already killed his friend. Then Zoe notices that her body is rotting, and there are insects crawling inside it. Shocked by this, Zoe goes to the old man and asks him for a solution. The old man explains to her, "I actually found your body in a grave. You were already dead when I discovered you. So I performed a ritual and called your soul back. But when I did that, another soul entered your body along with yours. That soul was none other than the commander who once led that tribe. His spirit has been seeking revenge for many years. He wants to wipe out the family who destroyed his tribe, and that family is the same one that wronged you, Trey's family. So the leader's enemy and your enemy are the same." The old man then warns Zoe, "Your body is rotting, and we don't have much time. We need to act quickly." On the other side, Trey was making a plan to kidnap Zoe's fiancé, Dane, so that Zoe wouldn't be able to harm them. Then we see Dane, who was crying because he missed Zoe, and he was really sad. That's when Trey and his companions showed up and beat him badly. After that, they picked him up, put him in their car, and started to take him away. But just as they were leaving, Zoe appeared. She shot an arrow straight into the neck of Trey's friend, injuring him and making him bleed. Trey and West were shocked when they saw that Zoe was still alive. They tried to run away, but Zoe chased after them and jumped onto their car. There, Zoe and West started fighting. West stabbed Zoe several times, but it didn't affect her at all. Zoe was about to kill West when Trey suddenly hit the brakes. Because of this, Zoe fell down in front of the car. Trey then ran over Zoe multiple times, but it was useless. Trey was shocked, wondering how she was still alive. But instead of wasting time thinking about it, he drove away as fast as he could to save his life. Then they take Dane somewhere and tie him up. Meanwhile, Trey's companion, the one who got injured by the arrow, was still in pain, but they still weren't taking him to a hospital. West tells Trey that when he looked into Zoe's eyes, they were completely black, almost like there was a soul inside her. When Trey hears this, he says he knows about an old man who lives near the place where Zoe was buried. Trey thinks maybe that old man is the one behind this, and that he might have summoned a soul into Zoe's body. What Trey doesn't realize is that the old man actually belongs to the same tribe as the commander's soul that's now haunting Zoe. After this, Trey hires a group of men for his security, and they're all heavily armed. On the other side, Zoe is trying to hold her decaying body together by wrapping it with tape. She looks broken and sad. But then, the soul of the leader, the commander, appears. He gives Zoe 2 weapons, the same ones that were once used in the war. Now night falls, and Trey's injured friend was in pain. He wanted to go to the hospital, so he secretly left in a car. But suddenly, Zoe appeared in front of his car and threw a spear at him. Because of this, the car lost control and spun out, and another one of Trey's friends died. Meanwhile, Trey was telling everything to Dane, about how they had all wronged his fiancée. They had tortured her a lot. Hearing this, Dane felt terrible and started weeping. After that, when Trey saw Zoe, he quickly warned his companions. But Zoe kept killing them one by one. Then Trey went searching for West, only to learn that Zoe had killed him too. Then, right in front of Trey, Zoe took West's heart and ate it. Seeing this, Trey was terrified and ran outside. When he goes outside, he sees a police officer. He kills the police officer and runs away. Then Zoe goes to Dane. He cries a lot when he sees her and asks her to stay with him. But Zoe has very little time to get her revenge, so she leaves. She wants to go and take her revenge. Later, Trey goes to the old man and asks, "How did Zoe come back to life?" The old man tells him everything. He says the tribe leader's soul is now inside Zoe. The old man warns that the soul will only be satisfied after it destroys Trey's entire family. Hearing that, Trey asks how to get rid of the soul. The old man says you must burn the leader's skull. If you do that, the leader's soul will leave Zoe's body. Then we see the police find Dane, release him from that place, and begin questioning him. Meanwhile, Zoe arrives at Trey's house and discovers that Trey's brother has committed suicide out of fear. Soon after, the spirit of the tribe's leader kills Trey's mother and then leaves. Later, Trey arrives at a certain place after collecting all the skulls, but the skull of the tribe's leader is missing. At that moment, Zoe shows up, holding the tribe leader's skull. Seeing her, Trey is shocked, and to save his life, he pulls out a chainsaw and starts fighting. During the fight, Zoe cuts off Trey's hand, but Trey drives the chainsaw into Zoe's body. Even so, Zoe manages to cut off Trey's head. Because of this, Trey finally dies. With his death, the revenge of both Zoe and the tribe's leader is complete. After some time, Zoe's fiancé also arrives, because the old man had called him there. When he sees Zoe's body lying halfway in the grave, he tells her, "I love you so much." After that, he burns Zoe's body. With this, both Zoe's soul and the leader's soul finally find peace, because their revenge is complete. Meanwhile, Dane has no idea about what's going on. Then the old man explains everything to him, what had happened with Zoe, and why she killed them. And that's where the story ends. If you had fun watching, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you.